Thank you, Kim and Casey. And now we move on to a different part of the evening. The Athletics Hall of Fame not only inducts individuals, but on occasion, when certain individuals are nominated, we also have, I'm giving you a little background here, we also have a Gold D Award. It's not awarded every year, and we also have teams of distinction. The charter for the Hall of Fame committee does not include inducting an entire team. This is the Athletics Hall of Fame way of, in a sense, distinguishing very special teams. The gentleman here to do the honors for that is the coach, Norm Hewitt.
What a sorry-looking crew. Well, I've got 4 of my boys with me tonight. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
Put on a jacket, right?
That's good for you, Mike. I'm glad you made it tonight from the bar. By the way, here's a plaque that they never saw. So I congratulate you guys. As I call these guys up tonight, you will notice that some have a lot less hair and a lot more weight. I'm going to ask these guys to please keep it calm because there's quite a story that goes with this group of, I used to call them young men. And a lot of you inductees today, tonight, which I would like to congratulate, and also thank the Hall of Fame for all of the work that you have put into this amazing evening. It was quite a shock to me when Coach Hirschberg informed me that we were going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. I only had the pleasure of being here for 1 year. In 1981, but it was truly a year to be remembered. I'd like to share with you what this team was really all about. Most of your inductees are relatively young in nature. We're going back to 1981, where there was no forum. There was a gymnasium. We had no field to practice on. I don't even know if we had a trainer, to tell you the truth.
No trainer.
And we had 12 baseballs to begin the season with. So, Coach Hirschberg, you are a spoiled little brat. I do want to thank Coach Hirschberg for bringing me back to a place that really had a lot of meaning to me. And Joe, I don't have any mountain climbers, so I can't profess to say that. I did have a few that visited the pub occasionally, but I'd like to tell you some stories that will make you a little more appreciative of what these men did, and also where they are today. This was a story that movies are made from. Sequentially, the Bad News Bears. That's how we started out. Progressed to Rocky. I don't know if they drank eggs or probably, Mike, you were drinking beers. And finally, the Miracle on Ice. Here's a brief review of how the season incredibly tells a story I applied to the AD at Drew about a baseball vacancy back in 1981. I had coached at Hillsborough for 11 years, Hillsborough High School for 11 years, and decided to move on to college baseball. I had great passion, as does your coach today. So after about 2 months of unreturned calls, I was finally contacted and informed the position was filled. Okay, well, end of the line, maybe I'll try again somewhere else. They thanked me but told me they were seeking someone with more college experience. So about 3 weeks later, I'm contacted for an interview. Okay. I'm wondering what's going on. Well, my interview consisted of 3 players grilling me with unbelievable questions, some of them pretty personal, with no supervisor, no AD, and basically no one that gave a crap. A week later, I'm informed, hey, you got the job. Okay, I'm ready to rock, baby. I was later informed that I was rushed into this position because the former coach who was hired originally was indicted for embezzling money. Okay, that's my start at Drew University. So here's where it really gets good. I'm notified that there was no room in the general coach's office to house my paperwork or my recruiting forms or whatever. But they found a place for me to work. I'm thinking, great, man, I'm a college coach. I'm moving up. Okay. So I am then escorted to the rear of the building. I climb a spiral staircase to my office, which was located in the powder room of the woman's bathroom. Now I'm figuring this is really, I'm in first class duty here. Hey, it was neat and clean, so I took it. So now I'm feeling right at home. Very welcomed. This was the induction or introduction to my season. I pretty much knew where baseball stood at Drew University. So let's review the stats and the facts. Previous season, a record of 4-14. A new coach by default after embezzlement, so I'm really feeling welcome. Limited players, about 3 with varsity starting experience. 15 total players. Today, Coach Hirschberg is spoiled with 41. No forum and limited time in the gym for practice. No real training equipment except for a dozen baseballs. Uniforms that look to be directly out of Cooperstown. No jackets for our pitchers or our team. And during the cold weather, and it gets, as you know, it gets pretty cold here. No field to practice on. Due to the soccer field occupying the baseball premises, there was no turf, there weren't even fields that were on the sidelines. Looks pretty good, doesn't it? So, what do? Well, they moved us to a clearing facility in the woods on a slope because they threw us off of the front lawn where I decided to conduct some practices. We were hitting balls on Route 24, and we hit a few cars, so President Hardin made it clear, I don't think that's a good place to practice. So he canceled that, moved us to the backwoods somewhere. I don't even know where it is today. It's tucked in the woods somewhere. We had never won a baseball championship in the history of the school. Hadn't had a winning season in 26 years. And basically morale was non-existent. These guys were looking to, they'd rather party than play baseball. So we did accomplish a few things. Mike's laughing because these guys have got some really good stories.
We kicked ass, buddy.
Mike, I told you to watch your language now. By the end of the season, this is what makes me so proud to stand among you tonight. An absolute amazing accomplishment with 15 baseball players. A new school record of 17-7. The first NCAA, that at that time was an ECAC bid to postseason. We won the IAC championship. Beat a D1, Division I school in St. Peter's. Placed 2 players on the all-conference team, first team. Mike Mateer was named, he's here with us tonight, one of the few, was named New Jersey Pitcher of the Week. He pitched a double shutout, doubleheader, and then came in relief the same week and won 3 games in a week. Don't get a big head, Mike. John Mercison was named Drew's Athlete of the Year with an 8-1 pitching record. And most importantly to me, Drew Baseball was the real deal. Now, a side note, in our championship game against NJIT, we were facing a pitcher who was, at one time, held the strikeout record in the Division III. As a matter of fact, I ended up coaching his son at Drew University along with John Marcison's son, at Hillsborough High School. And at our athletic banquet, both of their sons, what a small world, both of their sons played together. And it was an emotional moment for me because I brought them up and they hadn't seen each other in years. So during that game, now we only had 15 baseball players. So I want to put things in perspective. Our starting second baseman, who was probably our best defensive infielder, he got into a little skirmish the night before and had his nose broken in the pub. No second baseman. So we call on our backup, Paul Delaquia. He's not here this evening, but we did have an opportunity to reunite with him last fall. So we had a backup second baseman come in. Our starting center fielder was taking medical boards and was also not available. And during batting practice, our catcher sustained a broken ankle with a foul ball. He's here tonight, Scotty Burr, and ended up catching the entire game. So now that you know the courage, the tenacity, and the spirit that these young men used to be young, that these men represented, I'd like you to meet these warriors. Because in my life, they gave me a very special time. I've been coaching for 46 years. I belong to multiple halls of fame in high school, in the New Jersey State Hall of Fame, Coaches Hall of Fame, and I've acquired 631 wins in high school. I've got a lot of championships. I've got a lot of championships under my belt. But this season probably was the epitome of my coaching. So I'd like you to just accept some of these guys who are not here tonight, because obviously there are a lot. And I'll tell you what they're doing at this time. First, Eric DePaul, Administrator Advisor for Wells Fargo. Harry Kalivas, also Wells Fargo Board of Advisors. Rocco Marucci, who was quite a character. A lawyer and judge in Florida. Believe it or not. Rocky used to like his subs before the games. Tom Collymore, Chamber of Congress, Washington, D.C. Aries Mekalides, Director of Starboard Cruise Lines. Chris Brown, who's here with us tonight. So I'm gonna introduce him to you. He's I don't know how to pronounce this, Chris. Bonner Kiernan, okay. Investment advisor. He's also a lawyer. Damn lawyers. Mike Morris, who we haven't been able to locate. Dr. John Pine, orthopedic surgeon in Montana. John Marcisson, Celgene Corporation administrator, who lives very near to me, so I get to see him quite a bit. Phil Myring, who I haven't had an opportunity to get in touch with. We don't know what happened to him. But those who are here tonight are really special to Drew University. They epitomize what sports are really all about. I love rooting for the underdog, no matter what it is. And I can remember coming home from the first couple of practices to my wife of 48 years. I have my daughter here tonight with my grandson, who's quite an athlete himself. And the first thing I said to her was, "What the hell did I get myself into?" And by the time it was over, it was one of the proudest moments of my life. So I'd like to introduce the guys that are here tonight. First, Scotty Burr, our catcher at that time. Scott is the president of his own corporation. He has a painting technology. Come on up, Scotty. Chris Brown, attorney. Kenny Rubin. I think it's CEO of his Golden Goose financial firm. We're also missing Al Koski, who's vice president of the Cigna Insurance Company. Paul Delaquia. Paul couldn't make it tonight. And Dave Scott is out in California with his company. And finally, Mike Mateer, who, he's the quiet one. Mike is also the CEO of his own financial firm. So these are the four guys that are here, and I would like them to offer a few comments. I would like to say that Kenny Rubin, upon his return, these guys got together with Coach Hirschberg, and Coach, I want to thank you for welcoming them back. They got together and really got active with our baseball alumni, who graciously really came through this year with a lot of donations. So, guys, who wants to go first?
Me.
That's a surprise.
All right, you're supposed to say one thing. I mean, obviously, Norm's the greatest. He's my love. This guy's like, I come from
Don't be
Connecticut.
shy, Mike.
No, I come from Connecticut, but, you know, I went to college in Jersey, and I've been to 68 Springsteen shows, okay? And I brought people to Springsteen shows who have never saw Springsteen before. And some of my best friends have said to me, Michael, Bruce plays to every frickin' single place, every person in the audience. They loved him. He played to them. This coach right here, with no ungenuineness, with every genuineness, is Bruce Springsteen. To me. I want to say that, guys, all right?
I'm going to make this quick. Coach mentioned that he was
Ken,
left
make it
with
funny. Make it funny, please.
with 15 players. Or 3 players. I was one of the other 12. And I just want to say that I want to thank the coach for giving us a memory of a lifetime. And we had an incredible run. And I'll have to say that when Coach showed up on day one, we thought we didn't know what we were getting ourselves into. He walked around after day one saying, "Rangers #1," and we didn't even know who the Rangers were because back then the school didn't even identify with the mascot. And for 3 months we were walking around saying, "Rangers #1." But what I will tell you is that looking back, 35 years has been it's a little bit of a blur. We can't remember the details. But when you step back, what I'll tell you is what we came away with is a lot of life lessons. And when I see the Drew baseball program today and I see Coach Hirschberg, what he's doing, he's building men, just like a lot of the other programs here. And the things that we did, we believed, we drank the Kool-Aid that he served up. We bought it, we drank it, and we began to expect to win baseball games even though we had no business playing with these guys. And one of the favorite things, I'll tell you one story about my coach that I love, is that he used to go up in the beginning of the game and meet on the home plate with the other coach. It was sort of a ritual in baseball. A lot of coaches do that, but they didn't do it quite like Coach Hewitt. He would go up there and he would say to the other coach, "You guys, I heard about you guys. You guys have a really good program, and we're just going to try to give you a game. That's all we're going to try to do. Hopefully we'll give you a game. We know that you guys are strong, and we're just pitching some kid. He's probably not going to find the plate at all, but we'll try to give you a game. Just try to give you a game." And then he'd walk back to the dugout and he'd say, "We're going to those guys." And we did. 18 times we did. And so when you go off in the real world and you come through an experience like that, what you come away with is a lot of confidence, because everybody knows in life you have to fake it before you make it. And that's what we did. We made it happen without a lot of talent and without a lot of resources, and all we had was just confidence that this guy inspired with us. And once we got going, it fueled itself. So we appreciate the recognition, and none of us would have believed 35 years ago that anybody would have thought of us as more than a footnote in the, in the Drew history books. But we thank you.
Well, you also talked Coach Hirschberg into buying the pickoffs, right, Ken?
I did.
Yeah. But Kenny, who's the dog to shut up?
You.
Just wondering.
You're one of the 3.
So I'll try and be brief because I know how long these things are. Obviously, none of us here are curing cancer, but I will say, quite frankly, Coach was a revelation. I was at one time a basketball player at Drew University. Coach Masco was the assistant coach to Charlie Brock. And how I became involved in baseball was after practice one day, it was in February, Coach came up to me and said, "Hey, did you play any baseball?" Because if you look at that team, there's 15 bodies. So really all he was looking for was, at that time probably had 14 bodies, was looking for the 15th body.
Half of them are no longer alive.
And so with that being said, he said, hey, why don't you have a catch? And I had a catch. And of course, Coach Hewitt, who is a master of the psych, said, you must be throwing the ball 88 miles an hour. You got to play baseball. Now, and then he goes, did you ever pitch in high school? And I said to Coach, well, I played some outfield, but they didn't let me pitch because I hit one batter in high school, broke his helmet, and the guy was unconscious, and they brought in the ambulance and took him away, and they never let me pitch again. Well, Coach Hewitt wasn't disturbed by that. Most coaches would have said, hey, you know what? I don't want the guy who's going to kill somebody, blah, blah, blah. He said, I can work with that. And there began my Drew baseball career. From the beginning, it was a very interesting career. He had us all go like this to one each other when we passed, number one. At first, it was a joke. We'd look at each other and go, come on, this is really ridiculous. We're number one. The interesting thing was, as the season progressed, this number one thing, we started believing it. We started walking up to each other and going, damn right, number one, yeah, I can do it. And you know what? The amazing thing is the psychology of the team changed. And it changed in a big and wonderful way. The stories from this team, and I have here Mr. Mateer's ball, but just to show you some of the amazing things that happened.
Baseball.
His baseball. Yeah. His baseball from his doubleheader. Game 1, which was our third win of the season, 7 innings, 10 strikeouts, 2 hits, 0 walks, 0 runs. Second game, 7 innings, 3 Ks. Of course, he was up around 200 pitches, so I guess the 3 Ks can be excused. 3 hits, 1 walk, 0 runs. The amazing thing that nobody will know, and is probably unprecedented, is we played a game. This was Saturday. We had this doubleheader, which he won both games of a doubleheader and pitched 14 innings. He came in and relieved on the Tuesday thereafter, threw 12 pitches, struck out the side, and threw about 95 miles an hour. It was the most amazing thing I've probably ever seen in baseball. The memories from that team are tremendous. My lasting memory that I tell everybody is when I was a freshman, we were pitching against Kent State. And we were winning 5-3 because we had this kid, John Marcisson, who, like Mateer, was a fantastically gifted player. Awesome. And unfortunately, he tired in the 8th inning. We're playing Division I Kent State in Florida. So Coach Hewitt looks down the bench, and he was like, well, let's go with the young kid who can throw fast, but had no idea where the ball was going. So he goes and gives me the nod. So the first pitch I throw to my friend here, Scotty Burr, and he'll laugh at this. I throw it so hard, it goes over his head and hits the backstop. And I'm like totally embarrassed. My first college pitch. We're in Florida. I'm a freshman. So the second pitch, with the bases loaded, I throw it down the middle. I'm like, hell, I'm going to throw a strike. I throw it down the middle. This guy hits the ball. This is in the old San Francisco Giants stadium. He hits the ball out of the park, over a street, into the driveway next door, takes one bounce, bounces all the way into the second floor and goes through a window. And that was my welcome to college baseball. Whereupon, I had my catcher, who at that time didn't realize was going to become one of my best friends in my life, came out and said to me,
Oh, slow down this one. This is good.
what happens if we lose this game?
This is good.
Now, I got to remind you before all this goes on, Coach Hewitt had a curfew. We were not allowed to drink alcohol. We weren't allowed to smoke. We had really tight reins. He watched over us. We had Opie running around, John Marcisson, who was one of the captains. He's number 10 there. He used to run around with a net and catch us at night and drag us into back to our dorm. And after he dragged you back into the dorm, if he caught you out a second time, you were off the team. So there were a lot of rules. So Scotty Burr comes out and he goes, what happens if we lose this game? And I go, I don't know. And he goes, we drink. And I'm looking at him like, okay. And then he goes, what happens if we win this game? And I go, I don't know. And he goes, we drink. So I'm looking at him at this point. I'm starting to crack a smile. And he looks at me and he goes, listen, I'm really thirsty. Let's go. And he walks back to the plow. Now I'm looking out, and Coach Hewitt's looking at me. And he's like, I'm a freshman. Now, you got to understand, my first pitch went over the catcher's head. Second hit pitch went about 450 feet. So he's looking at me like, how is this kid going to handle it? Is he going to make it? And he looks out, and I'm laughing. I'm sitting there laughing on the mound because Scotty Burgess was like, this doesn't matter. He looks at the mound, and I have to say to his credit, he must have known something like that was said. He just kind of shook his head and smiled and nodded and never said another word. The essence of this team was that it was a great group of individuals. We were not individuals, though, as a team. We were a team. There was the sum of the parts. If you took us all together, we were nothing. But if you put us all together, we were something great. And that was what was special about 1981. Thank you.
Wrap it up. We got a couple stories. Come on.
Yeah, no, we're good. That I don't think I can say it any better than the lawyer said it. So I think we're done. No, it was a great season. Norm has just everything in the world to be proud of because, as you can see from that group picture, it wasn't a group of athletes he started with, but we did finish as athletes. And as Chris said, we build. Now that my son, I'll just pass along. My son is at the age where he's going to go to college next year, and we're interviewing at all different types of schools. And I heard the stories here from the other people being inducted that what we embodied is really what you want a D3 college sports to be. Because I know a lot of D1 kids, and they're all good athletes, and they're not having fun. And what I get from Brian now and his program, and that's what I'm most proud of what he's doing here, that all the people here are here with friends and family, and they've remained lifelong friends. And that's really what it was all about, and that's why we won. So I'm proud of everybody here, and thank you all for inducting us. I know that Jane Newland and all the people that were administrators at the time are probably rolling over their grave to know that I am being inducted into the Hall of Fame. But anyway, thank you all very much. Thank you.
Fuck is Jane Newman. Come on. Thank you.
Okay, I know they're trying to get us out of here and clear the room, but I would like to conclude with a few words. This is we have a lot of coaches in the room. We have a lot of parents in the room. I'll be 70 years old next week, or next month. I don't want to rush it. But as a parent, a coach, I'd like to think a mentor. I also had a business, so I had a lot of people working under me. I've learned a lot in 70 years. Having these young men play for me gives me memories and the university great pride for the years to come, as it has for them as well, I hope. So this is a testament for us as coaches, mentors, parents, administrators, to never, ever underestimate the abilities of individuals. I cherish this quote that was given to me many years ago, and it goes like this. Good leaders, in our case coaches, take people to where they want to go. But great leaders take people to where they thought they could never be, which was a perfect illustration of these men. Once again, I'd like to thank the committee, congratulate all the inductees tonight, and the university for allowing me this opportunity to come back and coach here. I also want to thank one of the finest young men and coaches that I've ever met, and that's Coach Brian Hirschberg. Coach, I know this reunion would never have occurred without your passion and loyalty to these men and the respect for Drew University. You truly epitomize what the word class really means and represent true sportsmanship and integrity. You set the direction for great things at Drew University. I'm happy to be part of your program, in spite of you being young enough to be my son. It's tough taking advice from you sometimes. I couldn't be thrilled more than to work with you and Drew University and all of the people that go with it, from our trainer, Chris, Billy, going back all those many years, you're still here when I was here in the beginning, and all of you that contribute to this great university and what it truly stands for. So congratulations to all. Thank you very much for recognizing the team of 1981.